What's going on, everybody? Good Monday afternoon, and you know what time it is. You know what it's all about. We got Snap Count Monday in the house. It's not as fun after a loss, but we still got to do it. We got to figure out who's getting on the field, who's playing, and we got to figure out what might need to change, if anything. So, we're going to start with the offense. We're going to go on over to the defense. I think you guys know the drill by now. Before we get into the numbers here, if you like this video, please click the like button down below. Helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you are new and you want daily Seahawks content. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. All right. So, offensive side of the ball, 58 snaps. It's the season low. It's not great. We're not thrilled with it. I've seen worse, but I've certainly seen better. So, if we could keep 58 as the season low all season, that'd be wonderful. Because that's not really a winning formula. And remember, a lot of those plays were run in the last, 8 minutes of the game when we're scrambling trying to come back. And that's great and all that we almost did come back, but it's not really within the natural flow of the game. So, of those 58 snaps, the running backs were on the field a good amount, right? Ken Walker, 39 snaps. Charbonnet, 21 snaps. Adds up to 60, actually. So you see there are two plays where they're both on the field at the same time, but we're talking about, 7 combined carries for the two. So it's not a matter of them not being out there. It's just a matter of us not giving them the ball enough. And look, I know they catch passes too, right? Walker and Charbonnet both caught some passes, but that's an imbalance that even in the modern NFL just doesn't make sense. It might make sense on a different team where you don't have any running back talent. Like if there's a team out there that just doesn't have good running backs, that's one thing, but we have good running backs. We have some of the best running backs in the league. You can't forget to run the ball like this. But the snap counts, I think, are pretty much fine. This is in line with the kind of stuff I'd like to see. Okay, wide receivers now. Interesting note, DK Metcalf, for the first time in a while, played every snap of a game. 58 out of 58. Usually, he gets a few snaps off. It's easier to not give a guy snaps off when your drives aren't lasting that long, I guess. But it is notable that there were no plays without Metcalf on the field. And you can also see that JSN is starting to pull ahead by a pretty significant margin over Lockett in terms of snap share. 51 to Lockett's 49. He now has a more than 50 snap lead on Lockett. And it's kind of interesting, right? Because Lockett was probably more productive than both Metcalf and JSN in this game. So this is the trifecta. This is the kind of stuff I like to see. Don't get me wrong. Like, in terms of snap count, I think this makes sense. Metcalf leads the way. JSN a little behind him. Lockett a little behind JSN. But it's just a matter of what you do when they're on the field. Also indicative of the fact that I don't think we got very deep into the Ryan Grubb playbook. Bobo gets 2 snaps, so he's basically not even playing. Chenault gets 5 snaps. And that's it for any non-Metcalf, Lockett, JSN receiver. Like, this is a bad sign. This is an indication that they weren't able to get deep enough into the playbook to do the stuff that Grubb is probably wanting to do. And again, you have to do the basics before you can do the advanced stuff. You have to run the ball. You have to run the ball effectively. You have to be able to protect. You have to be able to block. So this is another indication of why we got the results we got yesterday. Tight end. Kind of interesting here. A.J. Barner plays the best game of his career on Monday night against the Lions. And then the next game, he gets basically sidelined, and Noah Fant is the only tight end to get a significant number of snaps with 40. So he's out there for more than 2/3 of the game. Pharaoh Brown's a complete afterthought. If he's going to play this little throughout a 60-minute game, 8 snaps, then he doesn't even need to be active. Maybe he just needs some time to get that foot right. But 8 snaps is nothing in this game. And A.J. Barner, 15 snaps is not insignificant, but it does represent some, I don't know what you would call it. It represents the fact that we didn't run the ball well because he probably would have been out there more to run block. Noah Fant, not a very good blocker. He's out there that much. That's another reason why you're not running the ball and maybe not running the ball effectively. A lot of stuff to dissect there, but it's not good. It's probably not the formula. Maybe it could be the formula down the line when we have a better offensive line, but right now it is not. And finally, the last thing on the offense would be the offensive line. There's not much to say except the rotation between Bradford and Haynes continued, with Bradford getting most of the snaps. So everybody got 58 snaps except for Bradford, who got 40, and Haynes picked up the 18 from that 40 that wasn't accounted for. And I continue to get the sense, and whether or not this is justified is certainly debatable. I'm not denying that. The team likes Bradford more and trusts Bradford more. You can see 40 to 18. Like, there was a point in this game where it looked like they were going to get relatively even snaps. It was going to be 2 drives for one guy, 2 drives for the next guy, back and forth. But it seems like they trust Bradford more. Just roll with Bradford full time for now. And if he becomes unplayable, then put Christian Haynes in there full time. I don't think this rotation is helping anybody. I really don't. It was an interesting idea, but I want these guys to build camaraderie and continuity, and that's going to be hard when you're giving even 20% of your snaps to somebody else, which is what it is right now on the year. But over the last 2 games, it's been much more than 20%. Sorry, guys. Still a little bit out of it. Still a little bit tired. Still a little bit hungover from yesterday. Not in the literal sense, of course. Let's jump over to the defense now. Let's take a look at the defense here. 72 snaps total. I mean, it's an imbalance that will cost you games. And we still have a big surplus from Monday Night Football, but that surplus was not a good thing, right? That surplus happened because the defense was so pathetic, they couldn't stay on the field before allowing a score. Like, they couldn't stay off the field because they were forcing 3 and outs. So that wasn't really a good thing, but the surplus has been eaten into. 72 snaps on defense, season high, not really what you want. So what I can say is that on the defensive line, despite the injury to Murphy, nobody played more than 50 snaps, which, okay, I can take some solace in that. You had Jaron Reed leading the way with 50 snaps, Leonard Williams with 49, and Hankins with 41. That's kind of your base, right? Those 3 guys rotating in and out. That's where you're getting most of your power up front. And I think the fact that you have to lean so heavily on Jaron Reed is part of the problem. I think that Jaron Reed's a nice player, but he's probably not what McDonald is looking for with these 2 down lineman fronts. And there's just not enough that he can do to consistently absorb attention away from linebackers. Ugh. Whoa, excuse me, man. Still trying to wake up here, sorry. Miles Adams, 15 snaps. Mike Morris, 13 snaps. Still, I mean, it's okay now, right? It's a little more acceptable now because Leonard Williams is back and he's taking up so many of the snaps, but it surprises me a little bit how little we trust Adams and Morris. Like, those guys are just not really getting on the field in any significant way. Adams I kind of get, but Morris, there's just something not there. And it's disappointing because Morris was a guy who has a connection with McDonald from the Wolverines. Linebacker, very simple this week. There's not much to say. 72 snaps for Baker, 72 snaps for Dodson. I thought Baker played a pretty good game. He came up big at the goal line and helped force the fumble that led to this game being interesting for the first 3 quarters or whatever, but still not great. And Dodson, maybe we're starting to see some of the holes here. I don't think Dodson played a particularly good game. You're starting to see some of the issues these guys have in coverage. And nobody else gets on the field, which I'm totally cool with while Baker and Dodson are healthy. We got to roll with them while they're there, but not a great game for either of them in my estimation. Edge rusher. Bad news here. We got Uchenna Nwosu with 20 snaps, and McDonald has already said earlier today, and I might even have to make a separate video on this, I don't know, that Nwosu is going to be out for a little bit. So people are starting to wonder if he's the glass man. I'm not going to go that far. He got cheap shotted in the preseason game. Not his fault. He got hurt on that play. but that was a very quick turnaround into yet another injury. So I'm concerned long term here. I'm a little bit concerned about the viability of Nwosu going forward. I'm not going to say that we need to really get into the gritty details of that and really discuss ramifications of that until I see it again. But I am aware that people are buzzing about it, and I don't think those people are without a few valid points. But 20 snaps and he's out of there. That's concerning. Mafe doesn't play. Derek Hall gets 46 snaps, and I guess he got hurt near the end of that game, which I didn't even notice at the time. But we need Derek Hall in the worst way for this upcoming Thursday game. I'm going to put it to you that way. So, by the way, if the strategy was let's take it easy and try to not get injured against the Giants so we can have everybody for the Niners, even that didn't work because you still lost Nwosu, you lost Hall, you lost Woolen, by the way. So that goes to show you that in this violent sport that these people play, there's nothing that you can do to not get hurt. You just have to go out, play football, and hope things work out. So, short of keeping a guy off the field entirely, which admittedly we did with Mafe, and I don't know if that was the right decision or not, and we'll never know. You just can't avoid it. But 46 snaps for Hall is in line with what I would hope to see from him. That's a career high for him, I believe, by the way. Out of 72, it makes sense. Draymond Jones, and this is part of the problem we had, I'm sure. 60 snaps for Draymond Jones. Now, people are ragging on Draymond Jones for not being an effective player so far this year. I don't totally agree with that. I think he's been okay, but this is part of the problem. He's playing too much. This is what we're trying to get away from. This is why you drafted Byron Murphy, so Draymond Jones wouldn't have to play 60 snaps a game. Now, Murphy's out. You do what you have to do in the meantime. I get that. But this is probably part of the problem. He's playing way too many snaps. And then Trevis Gibson gets 11 snaps, and his share of snaps will probably completely go away when we get our guys back. Bowser, by the way, is gone. He went to, I think, Miami, so he's probably not going to get any more snaps the rest of the way because he's not on the team anymore. Hard to get snaps when you're not playing on the team. All right, cornerback. Woolen played every snap except for 70 snaps, so pretty good share. He's got over 96% of the snaps so far this year. Woolen, 49 snaps, so he was playing every snap basically before he got hurt, which we'll see what happens this week, but I'm not super encouraged by what I'm seeing from Woolen right now in terms of his availability, but it's way too early to make any kind of a judgment. Trey Brown, 61 snaps. I mean, he played as bad a game as he's ever played in his career, and it was a bad time for him to play that poorly. But overall, I remain a Trey Brown fan. He's a good player. He's had a good career here. Bad games happen. Everyone's entitled to a bad game here and there, but that was rough, man. And we didn't need it at that point in time. And then Nehemiah Pritchett, picking up a little bit of slack from Reek Woolen and maybe a little bit from Trey Brown, got 12 snaps and I don't think he was a big problem out there. I'll put it to you that way. So I'm not seeing him as like the problem here. And that's it for the cornerbacks. It's good to see Pritchett get a little bit of burn. I will say that. I think getting a little bit of experience is good. It's just a matter of he's getting out there because players are getting hurt or players are playing really poorly that you don't want. And safety, there's not much here. Love played every snap except for one. Rayshon played every snap. By the way, I guess he's got a cast on his hand, which is part of the reason why he can't tackle, which I don't know. If he's got a cast on his hand that makes it so he can't reliably tackle, part of me just wants to say, look, you've got good backup safeties. You've got Kayvon Wallace. Get him out there. But there is other stuff that Rayshon's doing that is valuable. I mean, he had a 100-yard touchdown in this game, for God's sakes. Kayvon Wallace, 7 snaps. Kind of weird how insignificant his snap share would be in this game of all games. I don't know if I agree with that. Like, at least get Wallace out there a little bit more in a game like this. Although, granted, it's hard to get 3 safeties out there when you can't stop the run. And Kobe Bryant gets 1 snap. So, presumably, that was when Love came out for the 1 play. And I don't know what happened to Love in this game, but obviously it wasn't overly significant. All right. That's it for Snap Count Monday. It's not we're not thrilled with everything we see here. Part of it is because of injury, but there's some stuff that is in our control that we are not controlling right now. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos coming.